Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Spotlight on a Collection. And what a collection this is right here that I'm going to share with you. This here was brought in as a recent donation by the Glover family. And what's really cool about this is that it's a presidential connection, it's a White House connection, as well as a Secret Service connection. And even though it really does not have anything to do with Shippensburg per se, but just like our military collection and things like that, as well as new people moving into town, their stories become part of our history. And that's what I love about this right here. And I love of the fact that what you're going to see here, these are reproductions of things in the White House that were handed out around the holiday season to some of the top-notch employees. So here we have a placard dedicated to Sergeant Carroll Glover, and he served as part of the uniform detail of the Secret Service, and he served underneath of 5 presidents beginning in March of 1970. So here you have Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Regan, as well as George Herbert Bush. Now, Mr. Glover, or Sergeant Glover in this case, he retired in 1990 from Secret Service detail. And when you think of Secret Service, you think of guys with the black suits and the ties. Actually, he was one of the uniformed personnel that worked as part of the detail. And of course, here is a copy of his badge that says retired on it. Now, at the request of us to the family, in which they're going to work on getting copies for, is when they handed the collection to us, they shared the stories, but unfortunately, they didn't have copies of photographs of Sergeant Glover at work. So we're going to eventually get some of those and bring those back into here. That way we can have a face that goes with all of these wonderful items here. So, like I said, what's unique about this collection is that it's presidential, it's related to the Secret Service, but it's holiday, it's Christmas. So, on the table here, we have reproduction paintings that we're giving out as presents, basically. So here we have, in 1976, wishing you a joyous Christmas and a Happy New Year, the President and Mrs. Ford. So this was something that Sergeant Glover had received as a present. And this depicts Philadelphia in 1858 by Reichert. And on the back of it, you have a little bit of history here, but when you flip it over, you have the embossed stamp of the presidential seal right here. And then this here doesn't have a year on it that I can tell. However, this has the President's White House, 19th century painting by an unknown artist. And you can see the signatures of Jimmy Carter as well as his wife right here. And then again, we have another painting of the President's house in Washington, D.C. This here is by Cranstone of 1860. And again, you can see the signature of Jimmy Carter as well as his wife. And then we have some unknown pieces here, but these were also paintings that once hung in the President's house. And basically the only way that we would be probably able to ID is to rip everything apart, and we're not going to do that. We're just going to leave everything the way it was given to us. But here's another painting of one of the rooms in the White House, or here is a winter scene of the White House. And then we get into the Ronald Reagan years. And here we have 1983 with the warmest holiday wishes to President and Mrs. Reagan, 1983. And as you can see, no signatures. 1985, depicting another area of the White House, which I believe is part of the Oval Office. Just look at how beautifully decorated that is. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see some of the greens hanging off of the fixture here, plus on the table and things over there. So it's decorated very traditional. More like the 19th century. 1986, with the famous George Washington portrait that was saved during the British invasion of 1814, when Mrs. Madison took and made sure that painting was kept in safety. (1987), above the fireplace in between greens is a portrait of Abraham Lincoln. (1988). 1989, and this one here is signed by George Bush as well as Barbara Bush. Pretty cool, huh? And you can see the signatures right down here. And then we have two unknown scenes here. Possibly, they think this one here may have been like the Mechanicsburg area. I don't think this was actually given out by the president or any of the presidents, considering it's a local country scene. But nonetheless, it is a winter scene which could be part of a holiday collection, and that's what I like about this. And then here is another one. So it goes to show that you don't know what comes through these doors from a day-to-day basis. We've gotten some really excellent donations since I've been here since 2019. And again, I just want to tell the community as well as the surrounding communities, thank you very much for supporting us, as well as sharing your history with us, as well as donating some of that history to us. That way we're able to tell the stories of our past. Until then, everybody, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.